Twitter sent out. Get our bot in here as soon as it loads up. Oof, that was pretty rough. Close that and wrong button. Discord is what I was going for there. Let's get the Discord posted. All right. Hello, everyone. This is Chris Ingerson. Oh, and I should walk it on screen. And this is every time I do that, it messes up my intro. So let's just do it from the top. Hello, everyone. This is Chris Ingerson, and it is July 13th, and this is the July 13th TextQuest Devstream. So today, as it says on today's topic, we're going to be tackling custom adventure logic again. Specifically, we're going to be working on the custom node inspector again. There are a couple of changes that I made from last week's stream. So the major thing is that we now have a title show up, and let's go ahead and add an integer. So if we click on this, we'll get an inspector that we can adjust this value on. And this is a whole number, so I can't do like 15.5 or something. It's got to be full numbers. We do have an actual close button here, so if you don't want to just have this on here as you're looking at stuff, you can go ahead and hit the close button. We do have a title to show you what node you are currently editing, or rather the name of the node you're currently editing. Today, to start, I would actually like to change this title into an input field so that you can manually rename the particular node that you're editing. That way we can add some more just descriptors to it. I might add a notes field or something, depending on if I feel like that's necessary. It certainly couldn't hurt. And that's what we're going to start off with today. The rest of today is probably going to be spent, I'm still working on inspector stuff, honestly, but we're going to be doing stuff like, for now, if I click on this, we don't actually have anything. We just, like, there's no way for us to really know how to reference variables yet. So we need to basically come up with an inspector that has a dropdown that populates all of the variables of the target type. So we're going to need to do that, and that should keep us pretty busy, honestly, for most of the day, I feel. So let's go ahead, and I might also try to, like, as weird as it's going to sound, I might make it so that if you click anywhere and the logic menu is open, so if you just like click on anything, that this menu will go away. That way you don't have to constantly hit cancel. You can hit cancel, should you choose to, obviously, but if you just click anywhere, really this should go away. Okay, so let's go ahead and stop playing. I am going to, let's see, here's our node inspector. We're going to grab that. I'm going to focus up on that real quick up here. We're not really doing anything off the top right here, so I'm going to go ahead and open the script up. So we just have to change a few things. For one, the title label is no longer going to be TextMesh Pro UGUI. Instead, it is going to be a TMP underscore input field. Okay. And all of the code references that we have should already work, although we do actually have to assign that, obviously. But now we need to come down here, and in start, we need to say title label, which I'll rename later, dot on. I guess I don't want to say on end edit necessarily. Well, maybe. So there are two things that I can do here. It's on value changed or on end edit. I feel like on end edit would probably be a little bit better. Yeah, we'll just do on end edit. Dot add listener. We're just going to say null here for a second. And I'm going to come up to here. Let's see. I'm going to say private void on title changed string value. We're going to come down here and say on title changed. Okay, and let me see. I think it's current node. What is it? Node. There's some way for me to know this. What did I call it? Target node. So we're just going to say, hold on. How did let me make sure that I'm doing this in a smart way. I think how this is populated currently is, oh good, we do actually just do the label. That's all, that's good. So all we're going to say is node dot target node dot label. I'm assuming it's just a getter. Yep. Okay. Is equal to value. I know that's going to throw an error right now, but don't worry, that will change once we do this. Label.text is equal to value. All right. I'm going to go ahead and comment that too. So this is going to be text shown on the labels, or on the nodes label, I guess. Okay. And also, we're going to go ahead and say if value is equal to, well, if string dot is null or empty value. So if we return an empty value, then we actually want to do something else because we don't want to have any nodes with no names. So we're going to say, so if it's not null or empty, we're going to say the new label is this. And if it is null or empty, we're just going to go ahead and say title label dot text is equal to target node dot label again. Basically reset it. Okay, so that's pretty straightforward there. Let's go ahead and set that up. So we have this. I'm going to go ahead and set this to be 1. That way we can see what we're doing. We have our title label, which is now going to change, and it's going to be a little weird. Oh, and also I probably should throw up. I guess we're going to be doing coding today for the most part. If Unity ever compiles, of course. You can't rush these things. You gotta be delicate. One day, soon, you will be a thing. Okay. Work with me. Work with me. I believe in you. Oh, and actually, I can't do anything while we're compiling. I was going to say while we're waiting, I need to double check that. Let's go up to custom logic panel, logic node. What the heck? Why are you recompiling again? Basically, I need to make sure that my logic node here is set to expand preferred size. Okay, good. As long as we're set to preferred size for both vertical and horizontal, we'll be good. Okay. So I'm going to come up to here. We're going to say right click, create a UI object. This is going to be TextMesh Pro input field. All right. We're going to go ahead and copy this rect transform. And then I'm just going to paste this in. Paste component values. Okay. We're going to call this title. Input field title. Okay. We're going to come down to here. Placeholder text. Okay. So this is actually going to change from input field background to, I think it's just called like UI mask. Ooh, and even that is actually too much. All right. So we're going to do that. And this is going to change because we're going to set our target graphic to be our text. And our placeholder we don't need. So we can get rid of you. And let's see here. None. 0.2. Normal color is going to be white. Let's make our highlight color kind of this like soft blue, like an azure color. Pressed color is going to be that, but a little bit darker. Okay. What else do we need? So for that, we want our title to, of course, be title. We're going to change our text to be targeting our 8-bit font. Our color is going to be white. And let's go ahead and come down here. You, I think, will be fine. That is a good question, actually, because if the text is our color, does this color vertex actually get tinted? We'll find out. Okay. In addition to that, we want a title size of about 24. That. We want it to be centered, and we don't really want this to have any sort of offset, really. There we go. Okay. Then I'm also going to go ahead and grab this UI mask, and I'm just going to crank this down to like 10 alpha. Actually, I could probably get away with 1, honestly. All I need is one alpha value. That way I can click on it anywhere in here. We're going to go ahead and move this up to the top here. I'm going to turn off title label. And let's see here. That's pretty much all we needed. So let's go back here to our logic panel. And I need to assign. Oh, I'm sorry, not that. Node inspector. There we go. TMP input field right there. Boom. Boom. And there we go. Okay, so now we should be able to play. Although before I do that, I want to set this back to 0. Okay. So now I should be able to click on a node and then edit its name. Do an integer, click on this. That is pretty good. I like edit highlights, although it is a little subtle, but it's fine for now. Okay, so I'm going to click on this and we're just going to call this like test name. Oh, right. Hilarious. So I need to make this not show up if you right click or if you right click or amazing. So that worked. But here's the problem. If I like hit space or right click over here, then it will summon this menu, which obviously we don't want to have happen. So that means I probably should make this a so I made a new I came up with a new rect tool for the load game menu. That way you could not, or I'm sorry, the key binding menu. That way you would not accidentally set a key binding by clicking on a cancel button. So we might do something like that where I put this bounding rect around this inspector, and when the pointer enters this, if you hit, it'll basically disable your ability to summon the menu, and then once your pointer goes out of it again, then you can summon it. So let's go ahead and do that, because I don't really want this to pop up like that. Okay, so we're going to need... That does complicate things. Do I want that to be the case? All right, fine. We're going to go up to logic map. This obviously has the node inspector in here. I'm going to go ahead and actually do some headers to help separate this. Node inspector. Header. Prefabs. Okay. That's a bit rough, but okay. So we're also going to want to have serialized field, tooltip, private, and I believe this is what did I call it? Some type of rect, pointer hover rect, I think. We'll call this inspector bounds. We'll call it inspector rect is equal to null. Come up to here. Area, when the pointer enters this rect, the logic list cannot be summoned, or while the pointer is contained by this rect, I guess, or within this rect. There we go. Okay. So that means we're going to come down to here. I'm going to just throw together a private bool can show logic list is equal to false, I guess. That does complicate things. So this is the logic map on behavior selected, on node clicked. I'm going to go ahead and say private void start. And then on here, we're just going to say private void on inspector rect entered can show logic list is equal to false, and then private void on inspector rect exited can show logic list is equal to true. I guess initialize is going to be what we need here. It's a little rough, but okay. So we're going to come down here and we're just going to say can show logic list is equal to true. Go down to here, and in start, we're going to go ahead and say inspector rect dot on pointer enter dot add listener on inspector rect entered inspector rect inspector rect dot on pointer exit dot add listener on inspector rect exited. Okay, and for this we're just going to go ahead and say if can show logic list. So we're going to wrap all of that. And that's really all it should need. Let's go ahead and let that compile. I am going to add a component here. I'm going to call it pointer hover rect. That's all I need to do there. We're going to come back up to here to our logic panel. Once that compiles, I will be able to assign it, and then we should be good. I would also like to make it so that whenever you're editing a excuse me, whenever you're editing a node, it should be highlighted somehow. That would be a nice thing to do. I don't know quite yet how I'm going to handle that, but I think I have an idea. All right, so we're going to put this over here. That's all we need to do. Let's go ahead and save, and I should be able to summon it, place something, and then edit, and not be able to type anything for a while. Uh-oh. Really? Okay, well that didn't work. They set it to false? No. How interesting. Is this not called anywhere? I mean, it would have to be, right? Hilarious. Okay. So I need this custom logic test to actually initialize everything. Oops. So let's go ahead. Ooh, really, you're private. Jeez. I really don't want to have show and hide options necessarily. I'd prefer to make this public, I guess. So we're going to come up to here, and I'm going to go ahead and say we're going to add a reference to public cg underscore logic map. Map is equal to null. We're going to go ahead and make this in .custom adventures namespace. Okay. And I'm just going to go ahead and say logic map.initialize. Okay. Pretty straightforward there. Does my logic map have to and from JSON values? It does not, but it will at some point. So that's going to be a thing. I guess I should go ahead and just add that. So, initialize. Well, for the time being, I'm going to go ahead and say JSON serializable, and I'm going to come down to here. I'm just going to say private, public. Okay, so they're going to be up here. I'm just going to say public void from JSON to okay, from JSON object, JSON, then public JSON object to JSON object, JSON is equal to new JSON object, return JSON, pretty straightforward. All we're going to do here is in our logic test view, when you click save, we're just going to debug.log logic map.toJSON .to formatted string. That's all we really care about. All right, so that should initialize everything when we hit start. And that also should actually let us log out the JSON values. Of course, it's not going to have any JSON values right now because nothing is really getting converted to JSON at the end. They all have the capability of doing that, but they don't have the what's the word I'm looking for? They don't have the connective tissue basically to actually become one big JSON blob. Excuse me. So we're going to go ahead and assign this. I'm going to hit save, and let's go ahead and play. So this test essentially is going to just check if we can not summon the menu whenever we want. Okay, so that's everywhere. Let's go ahead and go to in-game, integer. We can still summon, cancel. Can't do anything there. Okay, that one I think was a weird frame bug because I happened to be swinging in. But yes, we can't do anything right there. We have to leave it. Okay. So we're good there. That's pretty straightforward. I do think that right now, just out of curiosity, I'm going to try to okay, cool. Nice. So it'll go away on its own if we just click on this. It'll automatically detect that it's out of it. That's good. All right, then. That should basically take care of this. So I'm going to go ahead and say, what do I want to call this? Int const. There we go. Let's go ahead and delete it. All right. You know what? Well, no. Maybe I should have a placeholder, and it should show the full name. So that way if I hit backspace like this, you'll know what it's going to default back to. That probably wouldn't be too bad of an idea, actually. So, whoa. Okay, that was kind of weird. Let's go back to the title here. Let's get rid of this input field because we don't need it. Text area, I'm going to go ahead and duplicate this. This is going to be our placeholder. Go ahead and single this out. And this is going to be a kind of grayer value. We're going to come down to here. Placeholder is going to be equal to this. And this is kind of where things get a little ugly. So I'm going to need a reference to that placeholder text as well. So I'm going to need to go to Logic Node Inspector, fields, fading, title. I guess let's put this on header. Title. Okay, so we're going to say serialize field, tooltip, blah, 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 private, text mesh pro, UGUI, title placeholder label is equal to null. Go ahead and rename this as title. Jeez. Whatever, that's fine, I guess, title label. So we're going to say placeholder label for the title label. Okay. And for this, we need to go down to on title change. I'm actually going to add private void on title cha string value. Okay. And all we're going to do here is say essentially placeholder label.text is equal to value. Oh, I'm sorry, not that. We're going to say if string.isNull or empty value. We're going to do this. And we're going to say, instead of saying is equal to value, we're going to say is equal to target node dot label. There we go. And I'm going to change this to on title end edit. And this is going to be on title changed. Okay, that was weird. Whatever. And then I'm just going to go ahead and say title label dot on value changed dot add listener on title changed. I guess we should put those in order. All right. So in theory, what's going to happen there is it will basically show what the target node's name is currently if you backspace everything. That way we don't have a weird situation where you backspace and you're like, I don't remember what it was. Not that it would matter because people would just be able to hit enter, but still, it's good to show visually that it will default to that. All right, so we are going to grab our node inspector, assign our placeholder text, and that's all we needed to do, I think. Okay, so let's go ahead and save that. And, oh wait, hold on, something else has gone wrong, right? Oh, right, no, never mind. I kept the name title label. So, all right, let's go ahead and run this. Game integer. We're gonna grab this. There we go. So it's grayed out, making it a little more obvious that it's not what the current value is. And then we hit enter. That'll just go back. All right. Nice. All right. Cool. The only thing that I can really think of next, before we move on to things like variables, is maybe adding support for tooltip recs to this, so that you can hover over this this field and essentially get a tooltip to the left here. So let's go ahead and try that real quick. Behaviors, logic, UI, prefabs, inspector fields. Okay, so I'm just going to go ahead and grab. I guess we'll do an int field because that's what we've been doing for the most part. So we're going to grab this. I'm going to come over to here. Let's go ahead and move this all up here. That way we can easily look at it. All right. Oh, a null reference exception. Oh. What is trying to access this at runtime? Or at edit time? Custom adventures, node field prefab. Pooling pool editor. Well, that can't be right. Whatever. We'll leave that as is for now, I suppose. So the thing that we really want to do here is we just want to add a tooltip rect to all of this. Tooltip delay of 1 second, fade duration of 1 second, tooltip parent is probably fine to be this one, actually. Tooltip label prefab, that's going to be a thing. Let's see. Tooltip label. Okay. Spawn position is going to be on this rect transform. The pivot will be all the way to the right. Halfway to the top. Anchors min is going to be all the way to the right. Anchors max is going to be all the way to the right. Again, this is going to be 0.5, 0.5. Actually, no, this will be fine. Like 0 and 1. Will it though? No, 0.5. 0.5 is fine. tooltip offset. We need to go probably like -10 in the x-axis, I'm guessing. Okay, let's go ahead and apply that. And hooray, I already added a field for it in anticipation of it. Let's go ahead and apply that again. And we're just going to go ahead and close that off. Then we're going to go over here to const int. We have a name. I need to add a hint, I guess. Oh no, that is the tooltip right there. Well, no. Okay, so let's go ahead and open this script up, which means that we're actually going to go over to here. And this takes a CG logic value definition. And then we're going to go ahead and say tooltip, blah, 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 public string tooltip is equal to that. We're going to go ahead and make this a text area. 3 and 5, that's probably fine. This is going to be tooltip to show when this values field label is hovered over. Okay. The name of this goes somewhere. I suppose I should make this tooltip be a thing. Find all references. Texture edit. Oh, right. This is the problem with using interfaces. Is like it shows in every interface. I think there's call hierarchy. Okay, from JSON. Not a lot. I just don't know if I should handle the tooltip like that or not. Because that really does seem unnecessary. I don't really want to store that. But if it was Well, crap. Fine. I guess we'll do it for now. So we're going to say this dot hint, sorry, tooltip is equal to JSON tooltip. Okay. And then we're going to say JSON dot add tooltip. I also think that instead of having this be cast to a string, I should do if raw value is int, else if raw value is float, else if raw value is string, yeah, we'll go bool, is bool, else. Okay, so all we're going to do here is we're just going to grab this, pretty much do that, and do that. But instead of calling toString here, we're going to say as int, or I guess we're going to cast it to an int. Cast this as a float. Cast this as a bool. That way it will add them as their respective values. Okay. That should handle this. Oh, and then we need to do this. Dot tooltip is equal to tooltip. Okay. And then we're going to go ahead and see where this is referenced. Name. Okay. So we're going to say label dot text. This is our node field. Okay. So we're going to say tooltip dot text label tooltip dot what? It's not tooltip. No. What are you? There should be something here. I know I've said it before. Content, that's what it is. Tooltip.content. Content is equal to value.tooltip. All right, let's go ahead and let that compile. I think that will give us a little bit of a nice tooltip hover functionality. So we should be able to basically hover over fields to see what their description is, essentially. Let's compiles anyway. All right. So I guess we'll call this like a constant integer value. Okay, let's go ahead and try this out. We should be able to just play summon the int, the const int, and then hover over that, and we should be fine. Ooh, it has a. Why did I put a mask on this? That seems kind of irrelevant. I guess it's not the worst thing in the world. Okay. Alright. We also have the problem of I need to properly clear it, otherwise we'll get some of that, basically. So if we don't let it go all the way, then it's gonna fade out incorrectly. So do I want to make it so that my node inspector, which has a scroll, oh, it's the scroll view, right? So I should probably make it just the node inspector. I don't want to do that. I guess node inspector will be fine. Okay. That's a little rough. We're going to come up here to node field, and I'm going to add. Oh, geez. It's pretty much the exact same thing that we did for our logic list. So let's see. Let's just go to the logic map, and then we want to say show list. List not blah 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 blah. Initialize logic list request. Transfer opposition initialize. On cancel selected, we call list.cleanup. Go to definition, clear buttons, go to definition, hide tooltip. That's what we need. Is tooltip fade parent. Okay, so that means that we then have to handle that, which is gross. Okay. All right, fine. So let's go ahead and we're going to say where's this tooltip? Well, okay, so initialize, find all references, transform and tooltip parent. Okay, fine, that works pretty well, I guess. So we're going to go ahead and say logic behavior. I guess it's going to be logic value. Logic node inspector, spawn fields, or CG node field. That's what I need. Let's go to definition. All right. So I'm going to say, as part of our initialize, we want a rect transform tooltip fade parent. Okay. And we're just going to say down here, protected rect transform tooltip fade parent is equal to null. And then if we do that, we are going to want to do this as well. So copy that, paste this down here. We're just going to say this dot tooltip fade parent is equal to tooltip fade parent. Okay, we're going to copy this, paste that, and in addition to that, we now need to have a public void hide tooltip. We're just going to say tooltip parent is equal to tooltip fade parent, and then do I want to do that? Peek this definition, tooltip.hide. Yeah, that's fair. So we'll go ahead and say tooltip.hide. Tooltip.hide. Okay. And then when we call logic node inspector, when we hide this, we don't go through everything at once to hide them, but we can go ahead and say for int I equals 0, I is less than fields. That can't be right. Spawned fields, I think. Yeah, spawned fields. Spawned fields dot count. We're say I plus plus. We're just going to say spawned fields of I dot hide tooltip. Okay, that'll handle everything for us. We don't have to worry about it at that point. And when we initialize, which is right here, we're going to have to add a parent for that, which is a little gross. So we're going to add a serialized field, tooltip, blah, 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 private rect transform, tooltip fade parent is equal to null. This is just going to be rect transform to parent, tooltip rects to when they are fading out, I guess. Gross. Tooltip fade parent. You know what, I might as well just go ahead and go the whole 9 yards and also give it a regular tooltip fade parent, or a regular tooltip parent. So protected rect transform tooltip parent is equal to null. Okay, and then we're going to go ahead and grab this. We're going to paste that in there. We're just going to call that tooltip parent. Grab this, paste you in there, and this is going to be this dot tooltip parent is equal, oh, not fade parent, just tooltip parent. Tooltip parent is equal to tooltip parent. Okay, we're going to go ahead and copy that, paste that down here, and in addition to that, I'm going to come back here to the logic node inspector. We are going to say that rect transform is what we want to parent it to, and then tooltip fade parent is the target there. Okay, I think that's all we need to do. Let's go ahead and click on that, let that compile. Get up and stretch, because I've been sitting for nearly an hour. And notice that I have an error, which means I probably forgot a semicolon. Oh. Ooh. Right. Cool. So we're going to go peek this. So I need to copy all of this fun stuff. Gross. And then I get to do that. Tooltip parent. Tooltip fade parent. Let's go ahead and copy this. Paste that. I wonder if I can get away with doing like this, basically. So find out references here. Float field, string field, and int field is what I need here. So I think I can just basically. Oh? That's interesting. Oh, I see. Because it's not the actual same. Which is a little disappointing, but okay, that's fine. It's not the end of the world. Paste you, make you be JSON. Paste you, make you be JSON. Come back down here, paste you. Okay. Okay, I think we're good. So let's go ahead and let that compile. Oop, I forgot some. Oh, right, the range fields. You got me. Paste that. Paste you, make you JSON. All right, now we should be good. So let that compile. Take a drink while we're doing that. Now I thought for a second that it was that I still had 4 errors, and I was like, no way. But it is odd that they haven't cleared. Usually they're. I guess it has to compile all the way first to validate it. But okay. So now we should be able to go to Node Inspector, and we now have a tooltip fade parent, which should also be here. Tooltip parent. So that's going to be the mask here. Okay, I think that's all we need. I believe so, anyway. So let's go ahead and try this out again. Integer, select you. Okay. Oh, did I not? Hold on, did I do something very silly? Node field, I guess. Tooltip parent. Right, I did. So I don't just want to do that. I also want to say tooltip dot tooltip parent is equal to tooltip parent. Let's go ahead and clear that. That actually might make this tooltip parent redundant. Actually, it definitely does because we're not doing anything with it, so we can get rid of it entirely. Okay. Let's try that again. So that should appropriately set it this time, as well as setting the fade view. I'll adjust my headset, sorry about that. All right, let's try this again. And all right, game, integer, click on you, constant integer value. Crap, it did use the, it did move it to a position that I was expecting, which is gross. I didn't want it to do that. All right, well, let's try and just see if it'll go away as expected. Okay, that seems to be working, as we would expect then. So I need to change this. I'm not a fan of doing that. So the problem is that when its parent rect is set, it tries to move into that offset from the parent rect's pivot, and unfortunately that pivot is all the way to the right. So, I there. Ugh. Well, let me double check real quick. Actually, so I'm gonna come down to here, drag the infield out again. Label. So spawn position is rect transform with pivots all the way to the right. I suppose I could do this then. Let's have our pivot be all the way to the right and our anchors be all the way to the left. I think that will work. And then let's just hit apply there. Let's test that out. This way, it should be positioned to the left. It should be anchored to the left with an extra offset of -10. So that might solve our problems. Hooray! Okay. I don't mind that it's overlapping a little bit because that also helps imply that it is actually of the inspector instead of something else. So let's see, constant integer value, pretty straightforward. Okay, let's go ahead and close this. So the next thing that I would like to do real quick is I would like to make it so that the node you are interacting with is highlighted, which is for the most part going to be okay. But let's go ahead and go to. Well, I need to actually I got to set up those values real quick, don't I? So we're going to copy this. Fortunately, the label is actually right below it, so we can go ahead and copy this component. Well, we can set, the tooltip prefab is fine. We can leave that. Okay, so we can leave all of those values as is, and now I can just go down to all of these, and I have the hiccups, and it's very annoying. Grab all of these labels. We're just going to paste component as new. We got all of that fun time going on. All right, so all of those should now have tooltip support. Oh, except we do have to actually have them be referenced properly, of course. So set that, set that. Okay, so that should now have proper support for everything. Let's see. So highlighting, probably what I want to do there is, let's see, we have a label, we have fields. On node click. Okay. I don't want to assign a color to the. Well, so I would like to expose the color to the player so that they can customize whatever color they want to be the highlight color, which means I don't really want to initialize this in a serialized field. I would prefer to have it be passed in for initialization purposes. But that's kind of awkward. Jeez. So I suppose I could do this. We're going to go ahead and say we have initialize, set value, on pointer click. So I'm going to go ahead and say above set value, but below initialize, we're going to say public void highlight. And we're just going to go ahead and say fine, and then we're going to do public void ugh, gross. All right, and let's just go ahead and say set highlight. Highlight is not crazy about this. Let's actually just change this to color. Highlight. Okay, we're going to leave that. I'm going to come up to here, and we're going to go ahead and say serialize field tooltip private image, which is not a thing. So Unity engine.ui image, and we're going to call this highlight image, I guess. Highlight image is equal to null, and this is just going to be image to tint when highlighting the node. We're just going to come down to here, and we're going to say highlight image dot color is equal to highlight. Okay, and that means that when we come over here to our logic node inspector, when we set fields interactive, hide, okay. So when we show with this node, we're going to go ahead at the very top, say node.highlight. Excuse me, I had to sneeze. And I'm just going to pass in an arbitrary color right now, so color.green, sure. And then to do, make this a customizable highlight color later. Okay. And then down here in hide, we're just going to go ahead and say target node dot set highlight color dot white. I probably clean up fields, populate fields. Probably I want to make this be something else. Hide. When are you called? So you're called in on close clicked. Is that really it? Well, that's not exactly what I wanted. Excuse me. Sure. Let's do it there too, I guess. Sure, why not? All right. So in theory, that will actually highlight the nodes that we have that we're currently clicked on. That way we can have the title as well as a highlight around the field or the node itself to figure out what node is currently being edited. If it so chooses. There we go. Okay. So I'm going to grab this. It is something that, of course, is very annoying to look at, apparently. So I think it's actually this that we want. Yep. So I'm just going to go ahead and I guess that means I can straight up do this. Logic node. I'm just going to drag this right there. Okay, hit save. Give this a shot. So now when I click on a node, it should highlight the border in green. Let's change this. Okay, that's what I was worried about, is that it wasn't going to clean it up properly. So show if node blah blah blah. Well, that can't be right. Oh, that's probably why. Okay. I guess what we'll do here is we'll just say if target node does not equal null, we'll call cleanup, which is pretty straightforward. And then we can leave all that fun stuff there, I guess. Target node is equal to that. Yeah, there we go. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and let that compile. This should fix that problem then. So with that, all we should have to do now is basically allow you to get variables. So let's go ahead and let this compile. So I should be able to play now. Okay. Game, integer, game, boolean. Okay, so those will actually clean up properly now. Nice. So that's pretty cool. I don't know if I want it to be the border or if I want it to be the background, honestly, for this. It could be either. Let's go ahead. All right, so let's go ahead and close that out. Cool, that goes away. Hit save. Okay, so logically, the next thing that we need to do is handle our variable fields. So that's going to change a fair, or that's going to be a little difficult. So we're going to want to say create C# script. And this is going to be CG node variable field. And that's going to kind of be a little bit weird. I'm also going to go ahead and add some folders here for project organization. So we're going to say core. I'm also going to go ahead and open up node variable field while I still can. Let's see. So this is going to be text quest custom adventures. We are going to have this derived from CG node field. Okay. Let's go ahead and just say override set interactive. Get rid of you. Okay, so for this we're going to be using TM Pro. Probably using sleepyowl.common somehow. And for this, we get to have fun. So I'm going to need serialized field, tooltip, private tmp underscore, not input field, but drop down. Variable drop down is equal to null. Say private void on variable selected into value. We're just going to come down here, private void start variable dropdown dot on value change dot add listener on variable selected. Okay. And for this, we are going to essentially need to generate the list of options. So that means we are going to need to call. Excuse me. Oof. Oof. That complicates so many things. Custom game author session, perhaps? Yes, I think. So we're going to need a cached reference to that. So we're going to say private custom game author session. Author session is equal to null. And for this, I guess probably do that. So I'm going to go ahead and say author session dot. Well, no. Hold on. So I do have variables. I do have sort variables type variable. Okay. This seems like it could be a function that's useful in other places. So I'm actually going to. Well, do I want to do that? I was going to say genericize this, kind of put it like here. So go to definition. That can't be right. Oh, but it was. Okay, so go to definition. Variables. It's just a list of all of our variables. So this is custom game session, but we want to actually go to custom game author session, go to definition. We're using variables and all in here. Good. Generate variable ID. Add variable, remove variable, sort variable by type. All right, so I'm going to come up to here, and I'm going to say public list CG variable data, get variables by type. Wow, terrible. I can't type today. By type. And then we're going to need to do that. And repeat definition. Variable type is what I was looking for. Variable type. Okay. And I think I could be lazy and just do return variables dot find all. And then we're just going to say v dot type is equal to type. Okay, that essentially just returns a list of all of those particular variables. I don't know what happens if that's null, though. That'll be kind of interesting. Let's go ahead and we're going to go down to... So in start, we're just going to say author session is equal to client.get... Sorry, not client. Game manager. .get custom game author session. Okay. And then we're going to need to... Well, we don't want to do this in start. We want to do this in initialize. So peak... Nope. Well, that works too. Initialize, so we're just going to go ahead and go back to here. We're going to say override initialize. We're going to call base, and then we're also going to go ahead and say author session dot get variables by type. This is not what I want to do right now. You know what? It's fine. So, all right. All we're going to do here then is I'm going to come up to here. I'm going to say serialize field, tooltip, and I'm going to say private variable type. Variable types is equal to variable type dot bool, I guess. What type of variables to target or to show for this field? Okay. It's going to be drop down showing the target variables. So we're going to do that. We're going to pass in variable. Pass in variable types. We're also going to rename this to like target. I guess just variable type. Target variable type. Target variables type. Gross. Okay, so that returns a list of all those things. List, of course, you don't have a thing here. So we're going to say using system.collections.generic. We're going to say list, if I could spell today, but I can't. CG variable data, CG variable data. Variables is equal to that. Probably we want that to actually be a private list. So private, this is equal to new, that. And we're just going to go ahead and say variables is equal to that. And let's see here. Set interactive, pretty straightforward. We're just going to say variable dropdown dot interactable is equal to interactive. On variable selected, we will call on value updated, passing in variables of value dot int value, I think. Oh, no. Yeah, it's going to be a switch statement here, actually. So we're going to say bool value. I need to say switch target variables type. I'm going to say case this dot bool break. Can't type today. Case variable type dot string break case variable type dot int break and case variable type dot float break. Break is what we were going for there. So we're going to go ahead and grab this dot bool value, string value, int value, and float value. Float value, int value, and string value. Okay. That is pretty straightforward. And the last thing we need to do here is we just need to say, it's going to be fun. We're going to say list string names is equal to new list string variables dot count. It's our capacity. And then we gotta go for int I equals 0, I is less than variables dot, I guess names dot count, I plus plus. Okay, at the end here, actually, we want to say variable dropdown dot options. I don't remember if you're a list or so you are a list of string options, which is good. So that's what we're going to pass in names. I will call variable dropdown dot clear options, do all that fun stuff. And then we're just going to say names dot add. Can't do that yet. We need to say variables dot count instead of that. So we're going to say names dot add variables of I dot name. And we can populate that, and we should be good. Okay, so that's all we needed to do for that. We are using the integer values for, so basically every variable is a string name matched with an int hash value. It's the same system basically that we use for like our data IDs. That way we can have a constant value that does not change, which is the hash, but the user can say like, I want to have this variable be named testbool, and it's like, okay, well, I've been referencing this everywhere. I want to keep it that. I'm just going to call this. I'm going to call this testbool variable is hungover. I don't know. I couldn't really think of anything. That way, the name can change without affecting what is referencing that value already. So that's a little tricky to wrap your head around. I can understand that, but it's basically a way to allow players to change the name of a variable without blowing away the reference to that variable for everything. Okay. So now we need to go ahead and say, I'm going to, I guess I'm going to grab a float field. So I'm going to drag this out here. Put you over here. Grab our float field, and for this, we're going to still keep our float label. I'm going to change this to variable field, and I'm just going to say dash bools. And here's where things get fun. So we want this value to still be here. So now I'm going to go ahead and right click UI, Text Mesh Pro drop down. This should work for the most part. I'm going to leave it as kind of the default. It's a little awkward, I know, but we're going to go ahead and leave this like that for now. Because things are going to get super weird pretty quickly with this. So this is going to be our drop down variables. Okay. We're going to come over to here. We're going to get rid of, well, before we do that, let's go ahead and say this. We're going to need our label, our tooltip rect, and target variables type, and here we are. So we're going to remove this, and I'm going to select this, and then I'm going to just drag this down here. Oops. Okay, so let's get rid of this. I know you don't like me. And then we're going to go ahead and drag this down into node inspector fields. Okay, so that's our bools. I'm going to go ahead and change this to string. We're going to rename this as strings. Okay, we're going to drag that down here as well. I'm going to rename this as ints. I'm going to make this be our int values. Put that back down here, and the last one is going to be floats. So it's a little rough, but fortunately I didn't need 4 separate scripts for that. I was actually kind of worried I was going to. It's nice to know I didn't. So we can get rid of you. And now I need to associate all of those. So we're going to go over here to logic panel. Actually, node inspector is what we want, isn't it? Custom logic fields. Let's grab this. We're going to add... So I'm going to go ahead and grab this. We're going to go ahead and say logic param type. This is what we need, so I'm actually going to go ahead and go to definition here. We're going to edit this. So this is going to be variable, oh man, I guess we're going to say variable bool, and then variable underscore string 21, variable underscore int is equal to 22, variable underscore float is equal to 23. Custom game variables. Okay. So let's go ahead and let that compile. I'm going to make this, I need 4 more fields, so we're going to bring that to a nice even 10. And then, let's go ahead and select you. So we're going to have variable fields. It compiled, of course it did, right as I was dragging. It always does. Okay. So we're going to let that go, and then I'm going to go ahead and say, so we're going to need variable field bools, strings, ints, and floats. It's going to be variable float, variable int, variable string, and variable bool. Okay. Pretty straightforward. We're going to go ahead and save this. Then we're going to go to our values here. Grab this. Const bool, a constant Boolean value. Okay. We're going to go to get bool, variable bool. So I guess we're going to say a bool, a Boolean custom variable. Or how about a custom Boolean variable? How about a custom variable with a Boolean value? Custom variable with a Boolean value. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and grab that, copy you, don't know if I want to call that target variable or not. It's probably not a terrible name, but that's fine. Okay. I'm going to say custom variable with a float value. Make this a variable float. And custom variable with an integer value. Integer value. Variable int. Okay. And finally, a custom variable with a string value. Variable string. Okay. So let's go ahead and clear this out. Save. And let's just see what happens. In theory, it should do some stuff. However, for the testing purposes, I should probably go ahead and do this. These. CG variable data, not BG. CG variable data. Definition: you are not a serializable class. Cool. So I can't really do anything with that. Oh man, that sucks. Okay, fine. We're gonna do this real fast and dirty. This is a test script anyway, so I'm. All right, fine. Gross. This is gonna suck. Gross header. Bool variables. We're just gonna say public string bool names is equal to new string blah blah blah. Public bool values is equal to new bool blah blah blah. Public bool IDs is equal to new bool. I don't think I need that though. So if I do game manager game text quest game manager. Okay, fine. TQ game manager dot get custom game author session dot add variable. Oh. Ooh. Ooh. Is that really all I do? All right. Let me see how. I gotta remember how I did this before. Author session. Okay. I guess. So on variable edited. Ah, there it is. Variable. Well, no, that still doesn't really. Huh. Find all references. Hold on. Give me a second. On name change data.name. I guess it is a reference to the data directly, so I can just go ahead and set it up. Cool. So I shouldn't need that. Basically, what we're going to do, very awkwardly here, is we're just going to say for int I equals 0, I is less than bool names dot length I plus plus. So CG variable CG underscore variable data is equal to that, and then I'm just going to say data dot name is equal to bool names of I. Data dot ID, I think is what I want. Yeah, is equal to. Actually, I might not need that. I do need data dot bool value is equal to bool values of I. Just real quick, I'm pretty sure this automatically handles, generating the variable IDs. So that's good. Let's go ahead and just copy this. Boom, boom, boom. So this is string variables, int variables, float variables. float names, float values, int values, int names, string values, followed by string names. Okay. Terribly hacky way to do this, but it'll work. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and copy this, paste that, paste that, paste that. All right, so instead of bool names, it's gonna be string names, then int names, then float names, float names, int names, string names, and then string values, int values, float values, float value, int, and string. Terrible, but I think that will work. So let's go ahead and let that compile. So now we should have like a giant section of all this stuff right here. The main reason that we're doing this is because if we don't have any variables to target, then there's not really much we can do there. Oh man, I do have to let it be none by default, don't I? Which actually means that we need to go to node field data collection, no, node variable field. So these names aren't just what we need. Crap. Okay. Let me think. How do I want to handle you? Okay, I think I know what I need to do. Excuse me. Okay. So first things first, I'm going to go ahead and say on variable selected, if value is equal to 0, which is going to be the none option, then we're just going to straight up do this. We're going to say return, and I'm going to say on value updated. Ooh, crud. On value updated. All of those are actually going to be the int value, aren't they? So that's fine. Okay. Man, that's super awkward. Yeah, but it is what we need. So I'm going to say on this, we want. So we don't actually need this variables type. We're going to go ahead and get rid of this. So we don't need to do return here either. I can just say else. So if value is equal to 0, then we're going to call on value updated 0. Otherwise, I'm going to call on value updated variables of value dot id. That's what we want to do here. Okay. And then what we need to do is while we're iterating through our list here, we're going to go ahead and say int index is equal to value dot, oh dear, raw value is equal to null, question mark, 0. Otherwise, int value dot raw value, value dot raw value. Oh, you can't be called index, right? So we're going to say select or active index. Okay. I suppose. No, that's actually not what we want. We're going to call this target index, I guess. Target index. And then we're going to say int active index is equal to 0. And then we're going to say if variables of I.id is equal to target index, say active index is equal to I. This is a little strange, but bear with me. So we're going to say if active index is equal to 0 and that, let's see, names, all this fun stuff, target index, that should properly handle it. We're going to say +1, and I am also going to go ahead and say names is going to go ahead and add names.add none. I'm going to add that at the very beginning. And then at the very bottom here, we're going to say variable dropdown dot select active. There's a specific thing here, index. Okay, it's one of these things. Oh, dot value. That's what it is. Yeah, is equal to active index. Okay. That should do everything that we need. At least I believe so anyway. So that populates our variables, populates the name, sets our active index, sets our variables that are selected. Okay. So we should be good here. So we're going to let that compile. Gotta stretch. Okay. And let's go ahead and just give ourselves like one. Let's give ourselves 2 of each. Okay. So it's going to be like test bool 0, 1. Test bool 0, 2. Let's go ahead and copy that. Test bool test string 0, 1. Ooh, wow, that is terrible. Test string 0, 2. We're going to give one a value of true, another a value of false. No, there's no reason to preview it because we don't know what it's going to be. It's going to be based on whatever the player input is. Let's see here. So there's going to be like, I don't know, a test string. This too is a test string. Okay. Test int 0, 1. Copy you, paste you down here. This will be, we'll say 12 and 155. Test float. Grab you, make you 0, 2. And we'll do like 15.5. We'll make that something 16.6 and 32.4. Why not? Okay, so that should basically be all of our values. Cat wants attention, so gotta pet her real quick. Yes, I see you, Cat. Okay, so in theory, we'll be fine if we run. I'm really hoping that I don't have to initialize a bunch of stuff first, and that we can just kind of like squeak in here. Any errors? No errors. Lots of warnings. Dang it! Huh? Where are you coming from? Node variable field 24. 24. Author session. Okay. That's fair. So yeah, we're gonna do this the way that I was originally gonna do it, and it really should have been done like this anyway. So we're just gonna go ahead and grab you, move this. We're gonna come up to here, and I'm just gonna say private custom game author session, author session, author session. Get return author session not equal null question mark return author session. Otherwise, that make sure that you're only being used there. Okay, so this should essentially force it to be set before we actually need to use it. I was hoping that having it in start would kind of preempt that error, but yeah, that's what I get whenever I try to do that. I usually never do initializations in start for things that are referencing outside values, specifically because that can happen. So usually it's just easier to have a getter that will make sure that it is correct and that it exists and that it is there. Um, so let's see. What can we do here? Game get bool. Okay. Okay, so you didn't quite do what I wanted, but you did something. Um, huh. Oh, right. About that. Uh, wait, hold on. Actually, time out. Time out. Where are you? So, variable field bools. Oh, well, look at that. That does explain it then. This needs to be a bool. Um, but also, I completely forgot to set the type of the of these, so I need to say data.type is equal to. Good God, it would not do it. This is int. Yeah, we're gonna go ahead and copy this, and then we're gonna say it's equal to float, and this is equal to string. Okay, and then this is equal to bool. I was confused for a second because I was like, why is everything showing up? Because it should have either been only the bools or it should have been nothing. So everything defaults to a string value, I believe, for the type of variable that it is. And since I didn't set it, all of them were defaulting to string. But since I hadn't actually set my target variable type correctly on the variable field, it was just pulling in all of them because it was targeting all strings. So this should make it work now. Okay, so let's see. What do you look like? Game, get bool, grab you, and boom! Okay, so we got that working. We got you working too. Ooh, that was interesting. Is it trying to select multiple ones? Or is it just not deselecting the top one? Weird. An argument out of range exception? Oh, that might be causing the problem. Let's see. Variable selected, node variable field 59. 59. Right about here. Ah, right. This needs to be variables value minus 1. Yes. That was the problem. That's why it wasn't having that issue on the second entry for test pool 1, but it was happening on test pool 2. So I have to offset stuff by plus or minus 1. That way I can slip that none in there so that we can initially target none. And that way you can also, for some reason, if you don't want it to do anything, just set it to be none. I don't know. Okay. so let's go ahead and try this again. And yeah, as counterintuitive as it seems, we actually want all of our variable targets to basically only return the hash for the variable. So testable 1, testable 2, all right. Let's go down here, get float. Test float 2, awesome. Testable 2, testable float. Awesome, so that seems to be working. Get int. Test int 1. Cool. So that is essentially all we really needed to do for get floats, or for our variables, basically. So we have it targeting variables now. Cat, yes, I see you. We have it targeting variables. You can select from the variables that you have based on type, which is very nice. There are challenges for the next couple of things that we would probably want to handle. I would like to be able to check if you have an item in your inventory, but I am not going to do that next. I'm going to hold off on inventory-based interactions for not necessarily until last, but until more of the system is fleshed out. Because I still don't have interactive object creation and placement working super well, in my opinion. So let's see. I think we're going to call it a night there. And yeah, the next couple of things I need to do are a little awkward. But the next steps that we're going to do on air are probably going to be, let's see, do we want to try to evaluate? I suppose if-else statements would probably be a thing, which actually, before we do if-else statements, we need a way of connecting nodes. That's the thing I've been dreading the most. So yeah, the next step is probably actually chaining logic together. So we're going to need like input-output values here, which is a little awkward, but yeah. Okay. So, oh man, that's going to make things super challenging. So yeah, I think the next big thing we need to do is connecting nodes together to actually string logic together. Because once we have that, we can start doing things like if-else statements. And, oh man, that's going to be such a mess. That's going to be such a nightmare. Okay, but for the time being, we do actually have, we have our variables being renamable, so I can rename this to like get bool value. I am actually curious what happens here if I start typing past it. Cool. Okay. Probably should shorten that to be like ellipses, honestly. But so we can rename this stuff as we see fit. We can. Oh, we still don't have a way of deleting these actually, so I probably need to do that too. That would probably be good, but that shouldn't really be too difficult. And anyway, back to the summary. So we have nodes being renamable, so you can change that. We have tooltips over our fields, so you can set up tooltips if needed. And we have variables selectable now. So pretty decent progress. I think, like I said, the next big thing that we need to do is getting nodes to connect to each other, which is going to be a challenge. Oh, it's going to be so hard, especially because I probably am going to want to color code it, similar to what Unity does for some of its visual scripting stuff. So that's going to be a thing. Small scale, though, the next thing we need to do is just add a delete button of some kind, probably in the inspector, honestly, where you click on it and just say delete. But for the time being, I think that's a pretty good place to stop for the day. So, announcements. We should be on track for next week. I do apologize again that my schedule and my general exhaustion caught up to me this weekend, or this week, so I was not able to stream Tuesday or Thursday. but that sometimes can happen. So I apologize for that. Hopefully that won't happen again. And aside from that, I think we're good. So, as always, I want to thank you all very much for watching, and I will see you all next time.